And welcome back to the Popcorn Conspiracy on centralcoastradio.com. Now we're going to take a look at a film that's been pretty eagerly anticipated this year. If you saw the horror film that came out last year called X, then you've probably been pretty excited about the fact that there's a new film coming out called Pearl. Pearl is actually a prequel to X. It's directed once again, directed and written by Ty West, and it stars Mia Goth as Pearl, a young girl set during World War One, and she lives on a farm in Midwest America. Now, she dreams about breaking out of that lifestyle. She's married to a soldier who is away at war. She lives with her mum, played by Tandy Wright, and also her dad, played by Matthew Sunderland. But Pearl has to do a lot of the work on the farm. Her mother is kind of overbearing. There's a lot of rules in place with her because of the war going on. Her mother is, in fact, German, so I'm sure that comes into it a lot as well because of what's happening with Germany being at war. And her dad is in a wheelchair and basically out of it most of the time. So Pearl has to do a lot of the work on the farm, but she dreams about being a dancer. She wants to break out of that farming lifestyle and go on this epic journey as a dancer, but she feels that everything is holding her back. To make matters worse, it's slowly driving her crazy, which is when we pick up at the start of this film, she's borderline crazy at that moment. And it's from there, everything seems to go horribly wrong, I guess is the way to put it. Now, Kyle and Lee have stepped into the studio because they've both seen Pearl as well. But Kyle, we'll start with you. What did you think of Pearl?
I really enjoyed it. I'm actually surprised how much I enjoyed it because the production of this movie was quite interesting. It started off kind of just as backstory that was supposed to establish Mia Goth's character, well, one of Mia Goth's characters from X, and while they were in lockdown while filming X, Mia Goth and Ty West. Yeah, they worked together on expanding the character and making it a, a film on its own, the backstory. And then once X wrapped, they were able to go pretty much straight into production of this prequel. And I think that it's really interesting. I mean, Studio A24 was behind this, and they gave Ty West the go ahead to. They pretty much greenlit this prequel as well, and just gave him the go ahead to do whatever what he and Goth wanted to make. And yeah, it's interesting because a streamlined production allows this to have a lot of the same locations and a lot of the same sets and creative leads that worked on X come back for this. The cinematographer comes back. The composer Tyler Bates returns, but this time he's accompanied by Tim Williams, and in the same way that that X really captured that 70s vibe. Like it was really inspired by 70s Italian slasher films and also films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that. This one is really inspired by, well, the magical Technicolor films like The Wizard of Oz, and it's almost like it's a completely different movie, but it has a lot of familiar aspects to it, and I really enjoyed that. And this one, I think, being co-written by Mia Goth, it's actually allowed her to have a much more. This movie, it focuses a lot more on her character and her performance than X did. Like, as much as I enjoyed X, it was kind of I don't want to say just, but it was kind of a slasher film with a kind of a 70s gimmick. Whereas this one, it's much more of a character piece. It's actually I would hate to say that it might disappoint some people going into it, expecting it to just be a slasher with heaps of killings and maybe the same amount of gore that the previous film had. But I think it's actually a much more interesting film because it focuses on Pearl's descent into madness and just how the her 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 life on this farm is kind of driving her insane. And so I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the performance of Mia Goth. There's actually quite a long monologue from her at the end, including a 5 minute long single shot of her just talking, and it's actually fascinating to watch. Like, you wouldn't think that if you go in expecting a slasher film, a movie that's just really a that's got just like a 5 minute shot of somebody talking would actually be interesting. But Mia Goth actually gives like what I'd consider to be an Oscar-worthy monologue. And yeah, I thought that she was really good in it. I enjoyed the performances of uh Pearl's parents as well. Her mother was played by Candy Wright, who was actually the intimacy coordinator on X. And so, yeah, the fact that she actually gave this really powerful performance in this as this like overbearing German mother that's pretty much driving Pearl to insanity was actually it was pretty really amazing. Matthew Sunderland as well. Sadly, he's pretty much catatonic for most of the movie, but I recognized him because he was in well, this film was also filmed in New Zealand, and he was in another New Zealand film called Out of the Blue about a mass shooting, and he played the the perpetrator in that film. And so like even his performance in this was actually really good as well. So it's a very different film to X, but I still really enjoyed it, and it's one of those sequels that actually makes me appreciate the original even more. And so yeah, I'm really excited to for Maxine, the third movie in this trilogy. So yeah, I really did enjoy this. It's in many ways I think it's an overall superior film to X. So yeah, I really did like it.
Lee, what did you think?
So I have to confess I haven't seen X, or I don't remember seeing X in my lifetime. But that doesn't matter. You can watch this as a standalone movie. So it makes me more interested to watch the next one though. So this story really is a macabre story with death, violence, disturbing behavior. The main character, Pearl, is a psychopath serial killer. But it does get you thinking, did the mother become hard on her daughter and squash her dreams because she knew she was a psychopath? Or did the psychopath traits emerge because the mother had psychologically abused her daughter and squashed all her dreams? Now, I think I know the answer to this, but for those who are interested, you need to watch it yourself because I'm not going to give too many spoilers. Yeah, it's fascinating to think through that. If you're a people person and interested in how people tick, then this is a movie to watch and try and figure that out. I was thinking about what kind of audience would most like this film, and I think that those that like films such as Promising Young Woman or Last Night in Soho might like this sort of film as well. Now, they're not the same storylines by any means, but same genre of film, and quite creative in its writing, cinematography, and directing. Yeah, so I don't like full-on slasher films myself, but this wasn't a straight-out slasher film because there was more to it with the characters, as you said, Kyle, and that kind of holds my interest. I like to figure people out if I can, and to understand how their mind's working and how they get to be the way they are, or how they make choices in their life. So that kept me quite interested throughout this film.
Yeah, I guess I agree with what you've both said so far about this film. I love the little things in there though that Ty West has put into this film. I'm becoming a really big Ty West fan, I've realized, because going back over his filmography, I've liked most of the films that he's made so far, and I really, really enjoyed this one. The little nods that I love in there is that, like Kyle referenced before, X was a nod to the 70s, and this is kind of a nod to early cinema. There's a lot of scenes in there that I thought were very similar to scenes from Wizard of Oz, like the when you've got Pearl madly cycling through the cornfields. That was very it resembled those sequences at the start of Wizard of Oz when the tornado is coming. Even the Scarecrow to a point as well. But I also love that there's little links in there as well to X. So apart from the character of Pearl, there's one point in this movie where Pearl goes to visit a projectionist played by David Corenswet that she's become friends with. And he shows her one of the first porn films that had been made. And of course, if you've watched X, X is all about a group of people going to that farm to make a porn film. So there's nice little nods in there as well. But I love the way how Ty West has framed this as a horror film, but made it look like the film itself was made in that time of early cinema as well. There's all the titling and the credits look like what you would have got from a movie in the 1930s. There's that epic score, like the start of this film almost plays out like Gone with the Wind with the epic score and all of that coming in as well. And I love how he really captures not only the essence of that time, but the essences of cinema at that time as well. Mia Goth's performance is just absolutely amazing in this film. Kyle used the term Oscar worthy before, and I agree. Her performance in this film is pretty much what you would expect from a Best Actress Oscar winner. It's an amazing performance. I know a lot of people who weren't really fans of hers previously have commented to me that they think she's going to be a really big star after seeing this film. They said they kind of have just seen her as a scream queen, but now they're kind of seeing that she's got that talent perhaps to go all the way. The monologue that Kyle mentioned, it goes for 7 minutes, and it's just absolutely amazing. It shows what a stunning actress she's become with those kinds of dramatic roles. I was laughing when you guys kept on calling this a slasher because I want to call it a pitchfork because Pearl uses a pitchfork rather than a knife most of the time. So yeah, I was thinking, is that a new genre of horror, the pitchfork? But look, I just found this to be an absolutely remarkable film. You can watch it if you haven't seen X, because it basically is a character creation story. So there's no reason why you have to have seen X to go into this movie and enjoy it. You will get little things out of it, like I said before, about the link between porn actor and actress in the second film and porn film in this one. But yeah, for the most part, you will enjoy this film. Well, I don't even know if enjoy is the right word. You'll be entertained by this film, even if you haven't seen X. And I guess that leads us to our, what are we going to give this out of 5 and why? Starting with you, Kyle.
I'm going to give this 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, I actually, like I said, Ty West is quickly becoming one of my favorite horror genre filmmakers as well. It reminds me, I think one of his earliest films, I believe, one of his I think it was one of the Cabin Fever sequels, I believe. And he actually, that's one that the film itself kind of had a lot of problems, and that was one that he says that the producers took a lot of control away from him. And yeah, I guess this shows what kind of movie he can make when he's with a studio that actually gives him full control. So no, I really enjoyed this. 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Lee, what are you giving it out of 5 and why?
I'm giving it 4 out of 5. I thought the acting was really good. I like the way it was directed. I like how creative it was as well. And as you've already said, the little bits, about Wizard of Oz. Not that it's as lovely a film as Wizard of Oz. It's certainly a lot darker, but you could easily pick that up. So you don't have to have studied film to see those things. It was really clear, and brought that familiar place for you. And yes, as you said, don't want to use the word enjoy for a killer movie so much as keeps you intrigued and entertained.
Yeah, and for anyone that's at home listening at the moment, who is one of those people that listens to our show and then likes to hunt down any other movies that we mentioned, the movie that Kyle just mentioned there of Ty West was Cabin Fever 2 Spring Fever, which came out in 2009. Yeah, so my score out of 5, I'm going to give this one a 5. I really, really love this. I thought Ty West's direction was brilliant on this film. I loved how he captured that time period of cinema, but also Mia Goth's performance. To me, her performance is just out of this world, and it's one of the best performances I've seen this year by an actress. So I'm going to give this one 5 stars. So it sounds like Pearl is getting high grades from all of us. So go and check it out. It's on general release, so it should be showing in a cinema near you. You're on centralcoastradio.com and you're listening to the Popcorn Conspiracy, and we'll be back in just a moment.